Hans von Spakovsky, Advancing American Freedom Senior Legal Fellow, former FEC Commissioner and former DOJ lawyer. Hans, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us.
Sure, thanks for having me. Well, this is all because when Smith appeared under oath before congressional committees investigating this, he was specifically asked, did you examine the text of lawmakers' messages when you were conducting your, special investigation? And he said, no, I only sought the toll records. In other words, he only sought the records of who called who and when they did it. And he's, specifically saying he didn't read the text, but the documentation that Jim Jordan and others have received now from the Justice Department indicates he was lying when he said that in fact he and his lawyers actually did read texts between lawmakers, and that's what this is all about. That's what the criminal referral to the Justice Department is, because under federal law, when you testify in front of a congressional committee, at the beginning of it, you stand up as a witness and you swear an oath to tell the truth. I've done it multiple times when I've been testifying. And if you lie to that committee, you're committing perjury.
So, Hans, I think it was Jamie Raskin said that he answered the questions that were asked. And Jamie Raskin kind of cracked the door for Jack Smith to have provided the answers that he did, saying that those people who were questioning Jack Smith in that hearing didn't ask particular questions, and that the answers given were sufficient to the questions that were provided. In your assessment of this situation, do you feel like Jamie Raskin does have the ability to rightfully crack the door for Jack Smith to sneak out on this one?
No. No. And anybody who knows the history of Representative Raskin knows not to believe a word coming out of his mouth. Look, I've looked at this, and it's pretty clear to me that Smith was specifically asked, did you read the text messages of all these telephone records you obtained? And he said, no, he and his investigators didn't do that. And now we know they did. So, Raskin issues statements like that because he's hoping the press will pick it up and say, oh, there's nothing to this. But anybody who looks at the actual the documents, et cetera, will see that, no, they've got a pretty substantial case against Smith that he lied to this congressional committee.
Hans von Spakovsky speaking with us, Advancing American Freedom Senior Legal Fellow. Also, I understand you're broadcasting from Orlando at the American Legislative Exchange Council.
Right.
Talk to me a little bit about what you're doing there and what the American Legislative Exchange Council does. I understand that it's a team of state legislative leaders, along with other folks like yourself. What kind of activity are you doing there in Central Florida?
ALEC is the National Association of almost overwhelmingly conservative state legislators, and they get together, and this is their annual conference. And one of the big things they do is they have task forces on all kinds of issues, and what those task forces do is develop model legislation, model state legislation. How to handle all kinds of different issues. Probably the issue that's really been of interest here this week has been the problem of people who are not U.S. citizens registering and voting. And, that got an added boost when the Democratic governor of New Jersey had to admit in a quickly called press conference that New Jersey discovered that over 6,600 aliens had gotten registered to vote in the state through the DMV licensing. We shouldn't worry about it because only 400 of them voted.
Yeah, which means that there are some that have voted. So this "it never happens" argument is trash fodder. It's not actually real. It does happen. I'm wondering at a conference like ALEC, or when you're meeting with these state legislators, I mean, a lot of people will talk about a constitutional convention, which would be very civically exciting for nerds to watch, including myself. But I do think about how elections they're governed by the states. We've got the Save America Act, is the topic du jour on Capitol Hill. And I don't know if it's going to get through the Senate or not. Hopefully it does. But how are conservatives, that are meeting at this ALEC conference or that you speak to on a state legislative level, are they really, is election integrity a very high priority issue for them right now? Oh
yeah. Yeah, and all the recent news, not only what happened in New Jersey, but the president's speech, and in particular the release of all these declassified documents, make it very clear that this is an issue that should concern them, and they want to know what can they in the states do to fix this. And one of the things they're all talking about is making sure that their state election officials are getting access to and using the SAVE database. That's the database at the Department of Homeland Security that they can check to find out the citizenship status of people who are registered to vote. And, there are various lawsuits going on about that, but that's probably one of the best ways that states can check to make sure they don't have aliens registered to vote.
I just think that's like such a foundational, probably very popular across all people who are involved in this discussion or paying attention to our elections. They want to see the integrity, like at a baseline, the people who are voting should be citizens. I'd like to play for you real quick here, Hans, a clip from Speaker Johnson talking about the effort to get the Save America Act through the Senate. And now, there's this thing called reconciliation. There's this really exciting moment where J.D. Vance gets to come in and hopefully save the day. But I'm going to play for this clip for you, and then you can give us a little bit of the constitutional understanding of what is taking place.
And the budget resolution that unlocks our third reconciliation bill, which, of course, is Republicans' best shot to get as much of the Save America Act into law as possible, in addition to funding our national defense and our farmers. Republicans support our troops, our farmers, and election security. We're the only team in Washington that does. Many of you doubted our success. Many of you standing around me in the Skaggle right now said, let me read you a sample of the headlines. Quote, House Republicans face final week gauntlet. Another said, Johnson's rocky sprint to recess. Another said it was Johnson's make or break week. Despite nearly every Democrat voting against everything I just read you, House Republicans delivered. Now, many of you like to say that major legislating can't happen in an election year. We just proved you wrong. This week we continue to deliver for the people, and we're going to continue that streak all the way through the end of this year and into the next Congress. We're increasingly confident that we will hold and grow this majority in the House. We must, because you're seeing a demonstration of the two sides, the divergent views for America.
So Speaker Johnson there from Capitol Hill talking about the work they're doing, of course, with a lot of very good flowery political speak around it. But Hans von Spakovsky speaking with us right now, he's saying that the Save America Act is going to only need 50 votes in the Senate and J.D. Vance can come tie. Is that how you see it?
That's the only way it's going to pass because, as you know, we have a very small number of Republican senators who are mistakenly against it, and that includes Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Tom Tillis of North Carolina. Those are the extra votes that they would ordinarily need to pass it, and without those, it's probably 50 votes plus the VP. Look, Johnson actually he needs to be given a lot of credit because against uniform opposition from the Democrats, he got the defense authorization bill through, got the SAVE Act attached to it. And remember, he's only got about a half a dozen vote margin in the House. It's one of the smallest in U.S. history, and yet he got this bill through. And I got to say, I'm pretty impressed with that.
Yeah, President Trump, he has a pretty heavy hand when it comes to influencing and keeping people in line, but I don't think he does that if the speaker isn't able to do the on-the-ground, minute-by-minute work. Right. And it seems as though Speaker Johnson has been able to do the job of the speaker with the slimmest of majorities. Yeah,
no, it's very true. And, something kind of interesting about this is that Remember, in Kentucky, the president came out very much against Representative Massey, the Republican congressman, getting reelected. And in fact, he was defeated in his primary. And who's been the Republican who voted with the Democrats against the defense authorization bill and the SAVE Act? It was Massey.
Yeah. Well, Hans, we appreciate you coming to us from Orlando and fitting us into your schedule. We're looking forward to seeing what happens next year. And also, of course, with that Jack Smith criminal charge referral, if anything happens there, you'll be our first phone call to talk to us about it. Hans, thank you for your time. As always, we appreciate you.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Have a good weekend.